Just putting it out there, the championship trophy is a nice looking trophy. It's got like the length to it, and they use a good amount of metal for that. And you know what? If we did end up there, then we get to see different parts of the country we don't usually see. We get to go to different grounds, and we get to really experience the Great Britain and Great British culture, and the parachute payments, that funnel down the league, that'll help with our debts. We could really learn some stuff, and then we get to trial out different things. We have more games in the year, so we get to bring more academy graduates in. And, I just think it's more of a wholesome way to operate a football club, frankly. It's too much being in the big leagues and doing all that kind of stuff, playing the Champions League. It's just all a bit much with the travel and all that stuff. So, yeah. No, we're not getting relegated, man. Stop it. We're not. And I've seen some nonsense. I've seen some nonsense of people thinking, genuinely, I don't even know if these people are real or if they're just trying to get engagement on socials, but either way, it's disgusting. Saying, if we were relegated, then, that would be great for us. It's a great reset. We're in £1 billion worth of debt. If we get relegated, that's the end of Manchester United. I'm pretty certain that would bankrupt the club. So let's not be stupid. And let's just be thankful so far that the rest of the teams below us are worse. Except Ipswich. I mean, they beat Chelsea. I mean, what kind of life are we living right now where Ipswich beat Chelsea and I'm upset? Do you know what I mean? It's a tough time to be a Man United fan at the minute. But the discourse has been as irritating as it has been so predictable from the United fans. But we have to talk about it. We have to talk about what's been happening in the last game against Newcastle and what that means kind of for us moving forward. But before we get started, I mean, please do drop a like on the video if you're enjoying it. And if you like the channel as well, please subscribe, because we're nearly on 2,400 subscribers, on our way to that 5K. So let's see if we can hit 5K. That would be really cool if we can. And this is going to be a shorter video than usual because you only got the one game to talk about. And there are some key elements that I want to get through before, moving on to the next. And we were playing against Newcastle, and straight away, I knew that the biggest and best selling point for Newcastle is their midfield line, and also the link between the midfield and the attack. Namely because their attacker is so good in Alexander Isak. He can drop in and he can link up play, and he's sort of been given license under Eddie Howe to play where he wants to play, and then there's enough of a cohesion within the rest of the squad to fill the gaps that he leaves. But it's annoying to me, and this is probably the only time that I have criticized him, but I need to. Ruben Amorim made the wrong choice. There can be no ifs, buts, and maybes. The lineup was wrong. And I'm surprised that a person who is as smart as he is in footballing terms, and also just in, human terms, that he would make that decision. You do not play an aging Christian Eriksen and Casemiro in a midfield against Joelinton, Bruno Guimaraes, and Sandro Tonali. I don't even think we're far off in saying the combined ages of their midfield, and there's three people, is similar, if not the same, as the combined ages of our midfield. And I'm sorry, but that is it's a terrible decision from him. And it's a decision that probably Ten Hag would have made, and it's a decision that I don't think many other managers who I didn't expect it from someone who is coming in talking about being fresh and being different and being forward thinking. In that sort of situation, I would have played Toby Collier straight away. He was on the bench. He didn't play the entire game. And I'm just there thinking, you have not a ready-made replacement, but definitely someone who is a willing runner and who has shown that he has some qualities on the ball that are useful in the Premier League. And I'm shocked that we didn't play Toby Collier in that game yesterday. And players like him, namely academy players, will give far more to the cause than a load of these overpaid chumps who are calling themselves first starters. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't even like calling them chunks. But I'm keeping this is all staying. This is how I'm genuinely feeling. There are certain players in that team where I'm really struggling to grasp, how Ruben Amorim can pick them, but also how they can put in a performance like that, because you're getting picked, and you might be in a different system, but I just think, Gary Neville used to play centre-back. Roy Keane had played right-back. Sylvester played everywhere. Like, there's players that don't even have the big names, but would play where they were needed to play and still put in a good shift. And I'm sorry, but Casemiro, you've been in the game long enough to know what you're good at, what you're not good at. You should be mature enough to know that your legs have gone and you shouldn't be leaving so much to Christian Eriksen. And then when Mainu came on, obviously there was a bit of control that he brought in with that. But I can't understand how the senior players are performing to that level when we are where we are as a football club. And a word on that substitution, I guess, with Kobbie Mainoo coming on. He gave us some control, like I say, and he gave us some quality in the midfield. But the booing of Joshua Zirkzee, I don't ever want to see that again. Like, I'm talking like somber, as if it's like the worst thing that could ever happen. But that showed the overall lack of unity at Manchester United. And if you can voice your displeasure, of course you can. That's your right as a fan. You've paid good money, your hard-earned money to watch that, and what you've seen isn't good enough. Totally understand that, especially at this time of year when we're all struggling for money, and you've still gone and supported the club anyway. Totally understand that. But with Joshua Zirkzee, I just want to exercise a bit more patience and caution, because that is someone, and I've had a day to think about this, but that is a kid, he's like 23, 24 years old, who's come into a new culture, a new team, and 3 new setups since he's joined Manchester United. Apparently, we bought him with a data-led decision by the help of Dan Ashworth, who's now left. So he's come into this mess of a football club where the problems that are now showing themselves more to the surface have been there long before he even walked through the door. And he's been playing in every single position that the manager wants him to play without any clear instruction on what his role within that system is. Whether he has a role moving forward with Amorim remains to be seen. But the fact that he is one of the few players that is willing to run down and willing to try his best, and it just simply hasn't come off for him yet, and you're going to boo him 30 odd minutes after he plays at Old Trafford, I'm sorry, that's not okay. You can't scapegoat any individual player. If you're going to boo the collective, whatever. I still disagree with it, but whatever. But to boo a single player after he's done that, the kid basically walked off in tears, it looks like. It's not confirmed, but that's what it looked like, down the tunnel, and I'm assuming someone has come on and told him to go back out there. Like, we treated our own player like that? Disgraceful. And I think what was interesting is that I saw him come off and I was like, straight away I just thought, he hasn't played well, but no one has played well. Christian Eriksen and Casemiro, the mature, experienced first-team players, were there giving him Hail Mary balls to his heels, and then he looks like an idiot when he can't control them. I can count maybe 2 or 3 times he definitely should have done better on the ball, but it just wasn't his fault. Like, that performance in the first half wasn't his fault. He was hampered by the manager's decisions with the personnel that's around him, and now as a fan base, we scapegoated him, and that's unacceptable, in my opinion. And I'm glad that Mainu came on and showed a bit more intensity than what was necessary, but it's clear. It's very clear. I said this in a tweet, and I stand by it. It was harsh, but I stand by it. The one word that I would use to describe that performance against Newcastle was weak. Just weak. It was physically and mentally weak. Every single bit of it. I can't exempt a single player that I can say had an exceptional game. You could say Ahmad tried, Maz tried, Mainu was one of the better players when he came on. But Højlund, your hold-up play was bad. Your Leacher, your leadership skills weren't there. Maguire, your organisation of a back 3 wasn't there, especially at fault for 2 goals. I'm not saying you were at fault, but there was no organisation there. De Ligt, you're as culpable as anyone in the back 3. Yoro, I thought he was okay, but Dalot offered us nothing like he's done for most of December. And Eriksen and Casemiro, I've talked about them enough, but I'm not happy with anyone in that squad. And Gary Neville, in his infinite wisdom, said probably the one quote that I would take away and say, I completely agree with you. We are the worst pound-for-pound team in the English Football League. And I completely agree with him. Because pound for pound means that by how much you've spent and how much you've invested in the team and how much they're earning, what their output is. And you can say, obviously, technically, we're not the worst team in the league, and technically, we're not the worst in the pyramid, but by how much our players earn. Like, Casemiro earns 350 grand a week. Eriksen earns, I think it's upwards of 200k a week. That's £500,000, £2 million a month, £24 million a year on a midfield that did that. And you've got to stand up and say, you know what, Gary, your assessment was totally right. And that is a real shame. And I think Ineos have got a huge job on our hands, and Amorim's got a massive job on our hands, because I think the recruitment in the summer started at least getting the ball rolling. I'm not sure. I said it was a very good summer, and I still think it's a very good summer with De Ligt and Yoro and Mazraoui and Zirkzee. Jury's still out, but Ugarte was a good signing. But it's clear that the physical and technical floor of the team needs to be raised up tenfold if we're going to be successful ever again. But for now, it's bleak. It's very bleak. And I'm not excusing that performance against Newcastle because we didn't have Bruno, because we didn't have Ugarte either. The overall quality of that side wasn't good enough. And there's enough money on that pitch to get us far more than a languid 30 minutes and holding on and producing very little for 60. So Amorim has a huge job on his hands. But one thing I want to be very clear is that whatever happens, you have to support him, because, again, like I say, the problems have been there long before he came in, and he's walking into an almost impossible situation and trying to make the most out of it. And, you know, I'm not happy with him in terms of the plays he picked versus Newcastle, or even leaning into these relegation memes. Like, it's not helpful to anyone. But at the same time, could he absolutely say with certainty that we're not in a relegation battle if and when we lose to Liverpool and we struggle in any other games? I think it's just damage control. But I just wish Amorim could do what I think every single fan has been asking for the last 5 years. Play the kids. Like, youth, courage and success is the bedrock and foundation of Manchester United Football Club. It has been and probably always will be. It was there with Sir Matt Busby. It was there with Sir Alex Ferguson. And frankly, we actually have a bedrock of talent within our academy structure that not only would they probably put in a shift and get us something, but can be molded into your specifications without having to go into the transfer market. So I see every single inclusion or integration of a youth player into the first team like a new signing, because that's how it should be treated. Why go off into the market and buy certain players when you need a left wing back and you got Harry Amas stood there? Or when you need a striking option, you got Chidowabi Martin in the summer. When you need a midfield option, and Sekou Kone is coming back from injury now, but even Bendito Mantato, Godwill Kakonki, Gabriella Bianchieri, like there's so many, Amir Abragimov, there are so many good, like promising youngsters that are waiting for a manager to come in and say, here's your opportunity. And with certain games coming up, I mean, you know, we have to get results and we have to play a certain way, but if you're going to not play Rashford or bench him, then don't include him in the squad at all and bring one of these young kids through. I really just want Amorim to start keeping to his philosophy, because the worst thing that he can do right now is steer clear of the philosophy that he's been brought in to do and abandon it for the sake of a few results, because that will destroy him in the long term. So stick to what you're doing, stick to the football you want to play and see if it works. Whatever, that's fine. But bring in players from the academy as well as outside in order to do that. And I don't buy this FFP stuff saying that we're hampered in the January market. Sell players then. If you want to sell Marcus Rashford, now's the time you need to find him a new club. We need to sell the likes of Casemiro, maybe Eriksen. Raise some funds and let us start acting like a proper football club, because right now the manager is hampered by the terrible decisions and the sins of the past that he's not able to embed his philosophy properly. But if I was to find any sort of comfort in the storm, as he says, we are controlling games more. And when I say that, we have more possession in games, but we can't iron out the terrible decision making or the performances of certain individuals. But we can definitely start to see that, you know, we know how you want to set up. We know what you want the players to do. We know what you want to get out of them, but you haven't got the players to do that. So bring in the youngsters and let's see what we can do. That is where I'm at with it, really. That I don't want to labour too much on this game, because I expected us to lose, and 2-0 at home to Newcastle, you know, isn't a great result. But frankly, can we expect anything less? I think what I'm, like, in the circumstances, but what I'm very much not looking forward to is the Liverpool game. I'm just saying to you right now, for Liverpool, strap in. It's going to get nasty. It's going to get horrible. Away at Liverpool, with them where they are and us where we are, is a recipe for disaster. And frankly, we just have to stick with it and hope for the best. And that's it. I'll be probably as despondent, if not more, when the inevitable happens, in my opinion, against Liverpool. But the saving grace is that from now until Liverpool, this is the first full week of training that Amorim has, and he's going to start having that throughout the month of January and February and towards the end of the season. So let's see what you got. This is where I'm going to be judging the players properly, and there'll be no excuses for poor performances, because right now you can say it's the schedule, you can say it's not having enough time to work. You're going to start working with them now, and the schedule, even though the games are going to be coming thick and fast, the schedule is going to not be as rigid and horrible as it has been in December. So this is where we see who is involved and who isn't. But right now, I can't exempt maybe 10% of the squad staying, and that is a pretty solemn place to be. But that is where we are. I mean, I've talked a lot longer than I thought I would, but subscribe if you're enjoying it. I'm trying to keep things as non-toxic and as genuine about things as possible. So I want to keep going with this channel, and I've really been loving the support you've been giving, so I appreciate that so much. And I'm going to do a video soon about my goals going into 2025 and what learnings I've taken from 2024. So yeah, if you have stood by me, thank you so much, and definitely subscribe to the channel if you are enjoying it, and share around as well. Just get your mates involved and get in the comments, because I love talking to you guys about it in a calm and rational way, of course. But yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you after Liverpool.